says about a reprobate mind and if it can be changed, and well, it says that we can take every thought into captivity that exalts itself above the knowledge of God, but also I have to reconsider my thoughts on this too sometimes at best, because I think, what caused someone's mind to go in the wrong direction? It would have to be the gateway for the enemy, and that would be like pain, trauma. That's why they say Satan's target is your mind, a corruptible mind, incorruptible. Now, I'm not saying that, in a fallen world, of course, I see these things. So I think in this day and age, it's going to be harder to overcome that mind. That's why it says keep your mind stayed on Christ, which I do every day. But when you go out in the world and you see a lot of derogatory, dysfunctional living, people using profanity, rebellion is everywhere. It's a harder fight to stay at this cross in this day and age more than anything in the world. I can assure you, because I look back when I was in my adolescence, there was things that just didn't take place as they do now. We were able to leave our doors open. Our kids were more safer out in the night. There's just different things, and I think this technology and media has a lot to do with some seared consciousness, because look at all the things that you see on the people's lives are being portrayed on these platforms, and people's lives are not so good right now. Maybe they don't see it that way. When people that's what I'm saying, that's what a reprobate mind is. They don't see what they're doing is wrong. This is what that means, the inability to be able to see their right from wrong, or even acknowledge or feel remorse for their spirit of error that's upon them. Like I get a lot of times people justifying their sin nature. Well, everybody's doing it. A lot of people go through this. They think their mind is telling them that it's normal because they've seen it so much. Just like, before I came to this cross, I didn't think nothing of the things I'm thinking of now, but the Lord healed me. And I think the reprobated mind comes from undealt with emotions, pain, like desires of a man's heart controls his thoughts. Just like Pharaoh had the hardening of the heart, or the idols in your heart, evil desires in your heart. We see this in King Solomon. We see it in Pharaoh. We see it in a lot of the gods of Egypt who had those golden calves symbolic of breaking a covenant with Yahweh, living in your innocence and purity, being childlike to enter the kingdom of God. So sometimes being in a fallen world could cause the seer conscience. And a lot of people wax worse through, like I say, their upbringing or cultural. If you're born in a societal oppression around you, the adaptability in your mind and heart will take place to adhere to, or be able to not succumb, that's not the word, but to be able to endure your environment. So it takes some sort of adaptability so your conscience becomes seared, or so you can live amongst the rebellious community you live in. You see this a lot in very despaired cities or states, where maybe a high rate of crime or high violence, or there's a lot of derogatory living, dysfunctionality, where this child is brought under this curse and their conscience gets seared from it, and they no longer can strive to do better because they don't know what even better is. They have no structure or discipline on the onset of their life. They don't have the tools, they don't have the skill, they don't have the discipline, because neither do the parents. It's a societal curse. You're born into like a very despaired community, and people are in survival mode most of it, and so they just think what they're living is part of their life. That's just what life is. They don't know any better. They've never seen better. So in an aspect, their conscience becomes seared to adhere, groomed to accept or live through. Their heart hardens somewhat to those factions, because if it didn't adhere to it, it would be wounded on a daily basis and live in fear. So the fear kind of tends, that's what they say, they've succumbed to the fires that surround them. And they don't even see it as a fire more, because they're adhering, or they're acknowledging or acceptance of that surrounding is a part of their environment. It's a part of their life. It becomes a part of their identity. It becomes a part of their truth. Even though if I were to go into that environment, or coming from a structured environment, and go sit in that environment, I would feel unsafe. But to them, that's the only thing they've ever known. They don't see it that way. Even when you try to, this is why I say the truth becomes the hate message. So, because you're touching parts of them that was long been dead. That you're like shifting their reality or their perspective to a whole nother way of life that they've never even known. You want to love them, but the rebellious nature that they've tend to fallen into is because of the environment they've had to adhere to. And no child should have to do that. No human being should have to do this. So this is where we say sometimes our consciousness, it says people's hearts and minds will fail them for the things that come upon this earth. The love of many will wax cold. You see this every day in families, family betrayal. They don't even know they're betraying their family because they don't even know how to operate as one. They don't know how to do those things because they've never had it done to them. Love covers a multitude of sins, but maybe they don't know how to love. Maybe they don't know how to give those things to the next generation because it's never been given to them. You can't expect your child to go walk out in greatness if you don't show it how, or you're showing everything it's not. But are you able to differentiate between the two? A child becomes what's poured into them. A generation becomes what's poured into them. So if you're the one poisoning the mind and hands of your seed, thou shalt not pass thy seed through the fire. You know, if you're creating a curse for them to live under, or maybe you are, and you kind of live in hell together, and you don't know how to overcome or intercede for yourself. Because a lot of people reject the truth. I know what I'm doing. I got this. My family and me, we're just fine. Because people don't want to lay down their pride and their ego and say, show me how. Or I'm willing to learn. Or, you know, sometimes rejection is a state of rebellion. You're rejecting someone to show you the things that are hindering you. Your enemies can become your footstool. What I say that means is someone who's living under a curse. I watch through my walk in this world in life, and my failures and flaws too. I've learned from those. That's where my wisdom came from. I say, wait a minute, that failed me. I can't repeat that. Those things failed me. Or those kinds of behaviors or traits or lifestyles failed me. No, I can't do that. Doing the same things, expecting a different result, is insanity. But people live, their mind stays. That's what they mean, a seared conscience, a reprobated mind. Their mind stays in the reprobated state, the corruptible mind. They don't know how to intercede or change their thoughts. That's why I tell people, you can't always be thinking about the bad things. You can't always speak to bad. Like I say, a healthy tongue has a healthy mind. An unhealthy mind has an unhealthy tongue. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. You know them by their fruit. That's how you know where people sit with their life and the state of their existence. And when you have a healthy mind and a healthy heart, it's going to push you away. The Lord's like, if you have a sound mind, you're not going to want to be around people who are hurting your feelings all the time or speaking nothing but bad things over you or around you. That's not being mean. That's saying, wait a minute, I know I'm more than a conqueror. I'm more than all this. I wake up every day and tell myself, that's not my life. This is not who. No. That's why they say, don't take counsel from the wicked. Don't let an ungodly person give you direction. You have to decipher through, wait a minute, I'm not listening. I'm not listening to no naysayers or soothsayers. I'm not listening to that. I'm not hearing it. And that's not because I'm ignoring you. That's what the Lord says, expose the unfruitful works of darkness. You have to decide for yourself one day, get up and demolish those things out of your life and say, I'm not, there's things that we're allowed to ignore. Don't take part in fruitful works of darkness. That's in conversation. That's in deed. That's in lifestyle. Because that's idle word and actions. That's what he's talking about. Every idle word and action goes in judgment. Don't throw yourself into condemnation. Don't live in guilt and shame yourself. There's just things I don't desire at this cross. Like I say, I'll never date again, for instance. But if I did ever fathom that ideal, I wouldn't date somebody living in sin or rebellion, because I knew that would be troubled waters for me. That would mean I would have to live this life of confusion with someone who's rebellious all the time, or derogatory, and that's not being mean. I don't hate anybody. I hate to see people suffering, and I don't know how to give them the right things or words or information for them to intercede for themselves. And even when you do or try, they reject it. That's where I mourn, because I'm like, Lord, I'm doing everything I can. I'm trying. I'm trying to love them. I'm trying to speak truth. I'm trying all avenues. I've tried everything. And that's not because I want their approval or I'm walking on eggshells. It's because I really care for their soul and I really care for them to be better. I have nothing to gain by this cross but my peace, and trying to give that to you. Pull you into my peace, not allowing you to pull me into your storm.